So instead of starting on with our feet crossed, if you can, try sitting on your knees. Now, if that's bothersome, you can always take a bolster, a blanket, and put on your calf muscles. Or you can, if sitting on your knees is just out of the question, you can sit in this position as well. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult to do the exercises that we're doing for our opening breath. So today's focus is going to be on the wrists, because that's our first line of defense when it comes to using our shoulders. You know, if we're doing weightlifting or, you know, pushing things, our wrists are the first line of defense before the shoulders take the weight. So we want to make sure that our wrists are open and flexible. But additionally, if we spend time at a computer a lot during the day, the way that we hold our hands at our desk isn't always ergonomically correct. And so that puts a lot of tension on the wrists as well. So what we'll be doing today is opening up the wrist, doing some exercises, and hopefully you pick up a couple of these and do them throughout the day just to keep from getting carpal tunnel or to avoid even something like a shoulder injury. Because if our wrists are strong, that means our elbows can be strong, and that means our shoulders can be strong. So it's all about the joints. So as we sit in this position, I'm going to go to the side. I want you to try to turn your toes under, and then we're going to sit back towards our heels. You don't have to sit on the heels. We're just placing a little bit of weight on the toes. You're going to hold your toes in that position as long as you can stand it, and then whenever you're ready, you can just you can turn the feet so that they're flat against the floor. But periodically turn the toes under again, sitting, putting pressure, opening up the toes. And while we're in this position, we're going to just do a couple of basic wrist rolls in both directions. And then we're going to use our other hand. So we're going to take our left hand to our right fingertips. And we're just going to gently pull our fingers back. And then one at a time, pinky, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, and then thumb, pulling it towards our wrist. So just pulling back, going back and forth. Pressing down gently. And now we'll touch our thumb to our pinky, thumb to our ring finger, each finger individually, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So we're just pulling the fingers back one at a time. Don't forget the thumb, pulling the thumb in the opposite direction, and then all the fingers at once, pulling back, and just go through that same sequence, one finger at a time, all fingers. And relax. As we sit in this position, we're going to inhale through the nose and raise our shoulders up as high as we can towards the ears. Exhale, drop our shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, lift, and exhale, drop. Inhale, lift, and exhale, drop. And while you're going through these breathing exercises, set your intention for the day. And I want you to think of one thing that you're grateful for today. And just focus on that. Inhaling and exhaling. Trying to be as present as you can be, thinking of something that you're grateful for. And from here, we're going to start by placing our hands so that our fingers are facing forward. We're sitting back on our heels, and we're using our hands gently to press the hips back towards the heel. And then ever so gently, we're going to just rotate our bodies forward, our shoulders out over the fingertips as we exhale, and then inhale, we're going to go back. So we want to make sure that we keep the palm of our hand flat as we roll forward and back. So from the side, it'll just look like this. Rolling forward as far as we can comfortably and rolling back. There's going to be a certain point where you feel the front of your wrist. If you're in anatomical position, you're going to feel that maybe opening up, stretching. And just when you get beyond that point of comfort, that's when you start to rock back. So we're exhaling forward, inhaling back. And the other nice thing about this is that we can stretch through our lower back as we press back. And you could even turn your toes under, press back. to open up through the toes at the same time as the wrist. It's really important to keep the wrist flexible and to open up those muscles in the front of the wrist. That's where we have troubles when we get into the carpal tunnel territory. Now from here, we're going to turn our fingertips to the side as comfortable as you can. So our middle finger will be pointing to the side of our mat. And now we're going to shift. Let's turn our toes under and we're going to shift to the right, shift to the left, side to side. So from front, it would look like this. So nothing too crazy. Just shifting side to side, opening up through the wrist from a different angle. And this is also using the elbow or flexing the elbow at a different angle. And then from here, we can turn our toes under. If you can, we're going to point our middle fingers back towards our feet and place our hands down. Now, this is going to be the most difficult one. It's the most strain on the wrist. So if just holding still or leaning forward feels good to you, you can leave it there. But now we're focusing on the backwards motion. So we're sinking our hips towards our heels and then rocking forward slightly and then sinking back towards the heels and rocking forward. So you're going to feel that opening as you sink backwards. Go through that full range of motion. Stop when you're just out of the comfort zone and then bring it forward. You don't want to feel pain on this. So if just holding it in this position with your fingertips facing back is enough for you, that's okay. You can hold it still. But if you'd like to try leaning back, by all means, go through that range of motion. And then release, roll out the wrists. If you ever have pain when you're doing downward facing dog or planks or push-ups, these are some great exercises to do. Not only do they open up through the wrist, but they also strengthen. We're going to do one assessment now. So we're going to bring our hands together in Anjali Mudra. So that means the palms of our hands are together as if we're in prayer. And then from here, we're going to point our middle finger towards our sternum, turning the elbows out. Hold it here. Now, at this point, if you feel any sort of tingling in your fingers or moving up your arms, you feel discomfort, then that means that the fronts of your wrists are a little bit tense. So those muscles might be a little bit over contracted. And so doing these exercises is going to be way more important for you than if you feel nothing when you hold this position. Go ahead and give yourself a couple more wrist rolls. And now stay where you are, but I'm going to turn backwards so that you can see what I'm doing. And we're just going to attempt Anjali Mudra behind our back. So when we hold Anjali Mudra behind our back, palms are together. We want to open our elbows out to the side and drop our shoulders away from our ears. Holding this position, see how it feels. Again, we're opening up through the wrist, focusing on our breath. This is our warm-up exercise today. And release. And I'm going to stay in this position because now we're going to do a quick assessment for our shoulders. So we're going to raise the right arm and we're going to bring it down along our spine. And then we're going to bring the left arm up and back and see if our fingers can't touch. Or maybe they can't and you have to hold on to your shirt to hold it in place. But this is an assessment of shoulder flexibility and tricep flexibility. So hold it here, keep that elbow high, relax the shoulders away from the ears, and then gently release. Give yourself a couple shoulder rolls, and we're going to go through that same exercise. So now we're raising the left arm up, bringing it behind the back, bringing the other arm up and around, holding it in place if your fingers can touch. And pay attention how much more flexible you are on this side than the other side. So maybe on one side you can reach and on the other side you can't. That would mean that the side where you can't reach, you have some sort of tension, some sort of block to your flexibility. And if you ever wanted to explore that, you could always let me know and I could do a one-on-one Zoom meeting with you and we could kind of go through what's going on there. So it's good to have balance from side to side. Gently release when you're ready. And now let's get off of our calf muscles. Let's go onto our hands and knees to a flat back. And we're going to give ourselves some cat-cows here. exhaling up into cat, inhaling into cow. Turning the tailbone under and looking down as we exhale into cat. Then turning the tailbone up towards the ceiling, looking up, dropping the belly button towards the floor in cow. We're going to use our abdominals to fully exhale in cat. So I want you to use those ab muscles. Feel them working as you exhale fully. Don't let there be a single drop of air left in your lungs. And then as you inhale, I want you to inhale fully and hold that breath in just for a moment. And then exhale out all the way. Get all of that residual air out of the base of your lungs. Fully exhale, and I want you to hold this exhale. That's a little bit more stressful, but hold the exhale. And then inhale again into cow, fully breathing in. Hold your inhale. Hold it here. Gives you a little more time to absorb oxygen into the bloodstream, and that's energizing. And now fully exhale all the way out. And once your breath is empty, I want you to hold it. Hold that empty breath. This is stressful, but it's also energizing. At your blood pressure, your heart rate start to raise just like you would in exercise. And then fully inhale, fully exhale. Keep moving through those cats and cows. And finally, we're going to sit back into child pose. If child pose doesn't feel comfortable with your knees together, you can open the knees so that they're pointing to the outside of the mat. Sink down, relax, forehead to the mat. Focus on the breath, opening up through the lower back, but we're also opening our shoulders a little bit here too, as we drop our chest down. We're going to continue opening the shoulders by bringing the right arm underneath the left, so that our right shoulder is touching the mat and our right ear is touching the mat. And our right palm is facing the ceiling. Now, if you want to take it a step farther, we can bring the left hand up and back behind our back, bringing the back of the left hand to the side of your right rib cage. Hold it here, relax, opening through the shoulders. Try lifting that right shoulder, or lifting the left shoulder towards the room behind you. And then we're going to slide both hands forward, releasing gently from that position. Hold it here. And then left shoulder comes underneath the right, left ear to the right, wait, I don't know what I'm saying. Ear to the floor, palm to the ceiling. And then let's bring the right arm up and over behind our bodies so that the back of the right hand is touching the left side of the rib cage if it reaches. If it doesn't reach, that's okay. And then we're going to lift through the elbow up towards the ceiling, opening the shoulder. So we're doing a shoulder opener for both shoulders. But on the right side, we're opening through the front of the shoulder. And on the left side, we're opening through the back of the shoulder. When you're ready, release from this pose. Sit back into child one more time, but this time I want you to look all the way forward so that your chin touches the mat. This is just another variation, but this helps us with the curvature in our upper spine, to put it where we need to be if we spend a lot of time driving, sitting at a computer, things like that. We start to look forward and we lose that curvature in our upper spine. So this just helps us to regain it, but also opening underneath the shoulders as well. Take one more deep breath here. Inhale and exhale. Let's rock it back up. And from here, let's bring it up to a standing position. Whenever you're ready, back roll up. And we're going to come to the front of the mat as we go through our sun salutations. So hopefully the wrists feel a little bit more open, so when we hit that downward facing dog, we're not going to feel quite so much tension. Let's inhale up, and we're going to exhale down into fold, but we're going to hold it here and breathe for a little bit. I'd like to talk about forward fold. So as you can tell, my knees are pretty bent right now, but as my knees are bent, I'm able to touch my belly to my thighs and raise my tailbone up. So this is a rounded out tailbone towards the floor. That's not really good form that we'd like to practice. We want to turn our tailbone up so that we're reaching the floor, tailbone is up. And then from there, you can start working on straightening your knees or getting them a little bit more straight. But we don't want to lose that upward point of our tailbone. So let's just hold it right here. Keep breathing. And now I want you to walk your hands to the right side, outside of the right foot, as we open through the left side of our hip. Take a deep breath. And then we'll walk our hands to the other side, outside of the left foot, opening up through the right side of the hip. And then bring our hands together, bring the hands flat to the floor, and now we're going to step the right foot back so that we're in a high lunge. But I want you to drop that knee down so your knee is flat, your foot is flat. So we're in a low lunge position. And I just want you to hold this position for a moment, opening through the front of the right hip. If we spend a lot of time sitting, those muscles get a little bit tight, over contracted. So we want to just take some time really opening those muscles. Those are our hip flexors. Now from here, we're going to raise the right knee and we're going to step back into plank position, holding your plank, looking forward. Hold this plank. Take note of where you feel it first. The first muscle that you start to feel tiring out, that's the weakest link in the plank system. Good to know. Back leg straight and strong, looking forward. And then from here, we're going to push forward with our toes slightly, bend the elbows, keep them glued to our sides, lead with the chest drop all the way down, all the way. Release yourself to the floor. And just relax right here for a moment. Let's place our feet flat on the floor and actually flex through your legs. When we flex through the legs, that means we're flexing through the glutes as well, and we're protecting our lower back. And we're gluing our feet to the bottom or to the floor. From here, I want you to look forward and up. Inhale, lift slightly. Looking up, still keeping the feet glued to the floor. Legs are still engaged. Then I want you to squeeze the shoulder blades together as hard as you can. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. And then hover the hands just over the floor. Feet are still glued down, looking up. You're going to feel your upper back muscles working. The harder you squeeze your elbows together, the more you push your shoulders away from the ears, the more your upper back is working. The more you lift off of the mat, the more your lower back is working. This is a great exercise to strengthen the whole back. Keep holding, keep breathing. Keep the feet glued to the floor. Legs are still engaged here. Inhale and exhale. And from here, release. Forehead to mat. And now as we inhale, we're going to push through our hands to lift up a little bit higher, using our arms. And as we exhale, we're going to drop our forehead back to the mat. Inhale, raise, and exhale, lower. Inhale, raise, and exhale, lower. One more hold in Cobra. Now we use our muscles. Lift up, squeeze the shoulder blades, hover the hands. Drop the shoulders away from the ears, so your upper back and lower back working. Keep holding it, keep lifting. While you hold it, I'm going to describe the next move. So we're going to go from Cobra into downward facing dog. There are a lot of different ways to do that. So if you have a hard time transitioning from Cobra to downward facing dog, I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it to ensure that our lower back is where we need to be. So let's release that Cobra. We're going to push back so we're on our hands and knees. I want you to drop your belly button down, looking up as if you're in cow pose. Then from cow pose, we're turning the toes under and unbending our knees, pushing back with our hands. So it's really important that you use your hands, press against the mat to push your torso back. You might have to adjust where your hands are. And we're turning keeping that tailbone turned up. So let's go through that again. So let's drop down to our hands and knees. We're going to lift our tailbone up in cow pose, looking up. Turn the toes under. Press through the hands to gently unbend the knees. So my knees are still pretty bent here to keep my tailbone up because my hamstrings aren't very flexible today. But from here, you could go alternate legs, try to straighten one, straighten the other. One more time, drop down to the mat. Let's drop down into cow pose, look up, keep the tailbone up. We're trying to keep that tailbone angle the whole motion. Toes turn under. Use the hands to lift through the hips. This is how you get into your perfect downward facing dog. Everybody's down dog is going to look a little bit different, and it has to do with how long your spine is, how long your femurs are, how long your legs are, how flexible your hamstrings and lower back are, how slippery your mat is, if you can see me sliding forward. From here, we're going to raise the right leg into three-leg dog and swing the leg forward so that we're back into a lunge. So we're in a high lunge, but now the right foot's forward. We're going to drop the left knee down to the floor, flatten the foot, drop the left hip down, keep your chest open, looking forward, chin up. Hold this low lunge, opening up through the hip flexors on the left side. I like to break our sun salutation down every once in a while so that we can reconnect with good form that works for our bodies. So sometimes our transitions might look a little different, sometimes our forms might look a little bit different, but as long as we're not in pain, that's the important factor. Now let's turn that left toe under, lift the left knee, step forward into fold. Remember, knees are bent, tailbone up. From here, I'm gonna have you slide your fingers underneath your toes so that your knuckles are touching the floor, and then try to lift through the tailbone a little bit more, and try to pull your upper torso up as well so that we're gently using our feet to open up through our upper back. So we're lifting our torso, but using our feet to hold our hands down, and this is a great way to get an upper back stretch. Just make sure our tailbone stays up. From here, let's walk the hands to the thighs. We're gonna back roll up one vertebrae at a time. Roll the shoulders back, inhale up, palms together, exhale down. We're going to do that slow variation of our sun salutation again, but starting on the left side. So let's inhale up, and we're holding it here for a moment. With our hands pointing to the ceiling, I want you to squeeze the glutes so that you're pushing your hips forward, protecting the lower back. Looking up to the ceiling, and now I want you to look back even farther. Try pointing your fingers back a little farther along the ceiling. Keep the arms straight. Keep the glutes engaged. Take a few more deep breaths here. Really feeling how grounded you are in your feet. And then as you exhale, we're going to bend our knees slightly, turning the tailbone up as we drop our hands down to the floor, holding that forward fold. This time I want you to grasp your elbows, and we're just going to rock to the left and to the right. Knees are slightly bent, tailbones turned up as we go left to right to open up through our lower back on the side. You might feel your quadratus lumborum opening. You might just feel it in your hamstrings too, and that's okay. Drop your hands back down. Now we're stepping the left leg back so that we're in a high lunge with our right foot forward. Hold this position. Hold it here. We're going to add a twist. So we're going to plant our left hand down onto the mat. We're going to open our right hand up to the ceiling, opening our chest so that one shoulder is right on top of the other. Nice straight line. And then if you'd like, set your drishti point up to your fingers or up to the ceiling. Drishti point just means where you're focusing. Hold this twist. Keep that back leg straight. Keep sinking the left hip down towards the floor and release. Hands to the floor. Let's step back into plank. Hold your plank. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Look forward. This time we're going to drop down to our knees. So I want you to bend your knees. Lift your feet off the floor so that we're making sure that we're out on our quadricep, not our kneecap. Straight line from the crown of the head all the way down to the knees. Now, as you hold this pose, or as we tire out, we tend to want to raise our upper back away from the shoulders. But what I want you to do here is drop the chest between the hands, or drop the chest between the shoulders. So as you exhale, we're going to lift the shoulders up. We're going to raise the upper back. As we inhale, we're dropping the chest between the arms. The bend in our elbows doesn't change. We're just lifting through the upper back, dropping down through the upper back. Raising and lowering. What we're working here is a muscle called the serratus anterior. And now we're gonna find that happy medium. So we're not totally dropping our chest between our shoulders, but we're not raising the upper back as well. Hold it here. That's where you always want your back to be when you're in a plank. From this position, we're gonna practice an easy version of Chaturanga, but before we do so, I want you to sit back on your heels, open through the lower back, give yourself a chance, take just a little break. And now we rock forward. Make sure that our wrists are over our shoulders. That's wrong. Our shoulders are over our wrists or a little bit farther forward. Then from here, we're going to keep the elbows hugged into the body. Lead with your chest. So chest is coming down to the floor first, which means I might have to lift my hips a little bit. So that we're just hovering over the floor, keeping the chest hugged toward the torso. And lower all the way. Great job. Straighten your feet. Bring your forehead to the mat. Let's bring your hands a little bit wider so your middle finger is in alignment with the outside edge of your mat. And as we inhale, we're going to press up using our arms only. Look up, go as high as you can comfortably. And as we exhale, we're going to go one vertebrae at a time all the way down, forehead to mat. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Keep going. As we do this, we're using our arms. Our arms are doing all of the work. We're not using our back for this one. If you ever have lower spine problems, especially related to your discs, this is a great exercise to do on a regular basis because it puts everything back where it needs to go if you're not too far deviated from the norm. Everyone's spine's a little bit different, so we might have lateral curvature, sagittal curvature. We might have some unusual curvatures in our back. Sometimes that happens because we have one side of the body is stronger than the other. So that muscle group is a little bit more contracted on one side, so it pulls the joints in that direction. So by keeping yourself evenly balanced, left side and right side, forward and back, it also keeps your spine as straight as it can be. So this is a great exercise just to get your spine where it needs to go. From here, we're going to go into downward facing dog. So before we do, we're going to bring our hands back in so that our wrists are under our shoulders. We're going to press up so that we're on our hands and knees. We're going to lift the tailbone up into cow pose, looking up, turn the toes under, then push through your arms to get your tailbone up in the air. Straight line from the crown of the head to the tailbone. Hold it here. And then from here, we're going to raise the left leg, swing it forward so that we're in a high lunge. Our left foot's in front, right foot's back. Keep your right foot engaged. Keep the right leg straight and strong. Now we're going to firmly plant the right hand into the mat. Left arm raises as we look to the left, or we look up to the ceiling. We want our shoulders to be stacked, one right on top of the other. Hold this position. Hold this spinal twist. Keep dropping the right hip down towards the floor. Try not to let the left knee open towards the side. Keep your whole body engaged. And then release. From here, we're going to bring both feet together into forward fold. We're going to back roll up one vertebrae at a time. Inhale up, palms together. Exhale down. Hold it here. Feel grounded. Close your eyes. Notice how your balance changes with your eyes closed. Just keep breathing. Reacquaint yourself with the present. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Relax through the jaw. Be present. Here and now. And release. You can open your eyes. We're going to do some balance poses next. So let's come to the center of our mat. In a standing position, we're going to start out with our feet touching. So our big toes are touching one another, and I want you to squeeze the glutes, rolling the hips forward. Bring the hands again to Anjali Mudra. And again, I want you to close your eyes. Take note of how your balance might feel a little bit different with your feet touching, your feet so close to one another. And Open your eyes again. That was our first balance exercise. And now we're going to point the right toe forward. Foot is flexed, and it's just hovering above the floor. Again, let's bring our hands to Anjali Mudra. And again, I'm going to have you close your eyes. The second that you close your eyes, you're going to notice that your ankle starts to go into overdrive, keeping you balanced. And that's why our toe is just hovering. If you ever need to, you can place your foot flat on the floor, or you can open your eyes. You can open your eyes at any time. If you need something to hold on to, I absolutely encourage you to use that. But try to go with a light hand. And then we open our eyes. Now we're going to we're bending the knee, raising the right foot, or we're just going to press it out to the side, holding it here. So fingertips on the inside of the knee, opening through the front of the hip, keeping your balance. One more inhale, one more exhale. And from here, we're going to bring the ankle over the thigh. So right ankle over the left thigh. Again, we're going to bring our hands to Anjali Mudra. We're going to slowly sink our hips down, bending our balancing knee. Hold it here. You're going to feel some light opening on the right side of the body. Left side of the body is working to keep you balanced. From here, extend your arms forward, reaching forward, extending forward even more, bringing the fingertips down towards the floor. And see if you can't just touch the floor. Take one more deep breath here and gently release from that pose. Let's roll out the left ankle, working hard to keep us balanced. And then we'll try the same exercise on the other side. So now we're going to point the left toe just above the floor, just hovering. Palms together, front of the body, Anjali Mudra. And from here, this is where I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. With your eyes closed, you feel your balance immediately change. Our balance is made up of our eyes, our muscles, and our inner ears. So if you ever have a cold or something upper respiratory, something in your sinuses, you might notice that your balance is a little bit different too. So by working these tiny muscles called our stabilizers, which we worked last week, by working our stabilizers, it helps us to stay balanced even when we don't have our inner ear working properly or when we don't have our sight to aid us. That's why closed eye balance is so important. Go ahead and open your eyes when you're ready. And now we're going to raise the knee up, press it out to the side, holding open, trying to keep a nice 90-degree angle at your knee. Standing up as tall as you can. You can always hold on to something if you need to. Hold it here. This is why it's important to work core stabilizers. We never really want to work closed eye balance when our foot's this high off of the floor. So it's better to have your toe close to the floor when we're doing closed eye balance. That way we're being as safe as possible. From here, we're going to bend the knee even further. Bring the left knee over the right thigh and start to bend the hips. Hands come to center. Leaning forward. Holding this pose. Stopping when you feel a light stretch in the back of your hip. And now we're going to reach our arms forward as far as we can. And then start bending down. See if you can touch the floor. If you can't, that's all right. And you can spread your hands out on the floor too, if you feel that that would help you with balance a little bit more. Hold it here. Keep breathing. Steady breaths. And when you're ready, you can gently release from this pose. Step it out. Roll out the right ankle. From here, we're going to bring our feet so that they are hip width apart, maybe a little bit more narrow than that. We're going to sink down into chair pose, bending both knees, hips going straight back, flat back. So from the side, I'm not bringing my knees out past my toes, really reaching forwards, engaging the upper back, squeezing the shoulder blades together, looking up at a slight angle. All right, now for the balance. raise the right toe. It could be touching the floor lightly if you prefer, or it can be just above the floor. Hold your balance. Keep that balanced knee bent and release. Step it out. Bring the arms up, dropping down into our imaginary chair. Now the left foot raises. Hold it. It's hovering just above the floor. Keep that back in alignment. One more deep breath and release. Step it out. Well done. Let's bring it down to a seated position. One foot in front of the other. Let's start with the left foot in front of the right. Shifting side to side. We're going to bring our hands behind our back. We're going to clasp our left hand around our right wrist. Open through the shoulders. Open the chest, chin up, and extend forward. Just until you feel an opening in the lower back, in the hips. And then from here, if you want to try to raise your hands up a little bit, engaging the upper back. So you feel your upper back working. You might feel your left arm working a little bit. Hold it here. Keep the upper back engaged. Keep extending forward, just open through the hips. And release. Give yourself a couple shoulder rolls. We're pressing down on the knees, and we're going to sink to the right. So we're pressing down on the left knee, sinking to the right, allowing our hip to open just a little bit more. We're dropping our right rib cage down towards the floor here. So it's a very slight motion. Couple more deep breaths. And release. Sit up nice and tall. Now we're going to switch feet. So the right foot is in front of the left, and our right hand is going to wrap around the left wrist. As we sit, make sure we're evenly distributed left side, right side. Let's engage the upper back, squeezing the shoulder blades together, looking forward, extend forward. Keeping the upper back engaged. Keep lifting those arms. You're going to feel it more than you can see it. Hold it here. Keep the upper back engaged. And then release. Now we're going to place our hands on our knees, and we're going to press down on the right knee as we extend to the left, dropping our left ribs down towards the floor. You should feel that opening through the side of your hip. Take a few deep breaths. One more deep breath in. One more exhale. And bring it back to center, rock side to side. Soles of the feet come together as we grasp our ankles. Sit up nice and tall. So we're actually using our ankles as leverage. As we pull our ankles, we're able to pull our belly forward, lifting through the chest, and we're squeezing our shoulder blades together so that we're able to open through the chest. Because in this pose, we tend to want to round out our upper back and slouch. So we're pulling against our shins so that we can straighten through the back. Not only are we opening our inner thighs, but we're engaging the upper back. We're practicing good posture. Take one more inhale. One more exhale. And release. From here, we're going to roll back onto our mat so we can bring our knees up. We're going to roll back one vertebrae at a time, reaching our arms forward, and then continue the motion by pulling the knees in towards the chest, rocking side to side. Going to give ourselves a sacrum massage. So we're going side to side, and every time we reach the right side again, we're going to drop our feet 1 inch down. Eventually, you can place your hands on the floor. We're going to keep dropping inch by inch to the floor until your toes just brush the floor, and you should feel your weight distribute to the bottom of your sacrum When your toes are sweeping the floor, gently bring it up 1 inch at a time. Keep rocking side to side until your knees are back as close to your chest as you can get, and then I want you to just pull them back. Inhale, exhale, and again, we're going to rock side to side, right to left, dropping down 1 inch at a time, feeling the distribution of weight change along your sacrum. Your sacrum is a triangular bone at the base of your spine, and it holds your whole spine. So sometimes the muscles around the sacrum get really tired, really worn out. So this is a really good way to relax the muscles around the sacrum. Those muscles work really hard when we're balancing. Just right around, just below our center of gravity usually. Pull the knees in towards the chest. One more assessment before we're done. With our holding our left knee towards the chest, we're going to extend the right leg out. Now, if you feel that you can't pull your knee in towards your chest and have your leg resting on the floor, it means you have tight hip flexors. So if you feel like your leg needs to raise up, that means your hip flexors are tight on that side. Now pull the other knee in, and we're going to extend through the right side. Extend out, and just take note if the left leg, the left leg wants to raise. A few deep breaths here. See if it feels differently on one side than the other. And then pull both knees in towards the chest again, and gently release. Feet are flat on the floor. I want you to place your hands on your abs as you inhale and exhale. We're going to do some counted breaths for energizing. So we're going to do square breathing where we inhale for 4 counts fully, hold it for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts fully, and hold that empty breath for 4 counts. So let's inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, hold. Then exhale 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. Feel your abdomen raising as you inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, hold. Then exhale 4, 3, 2, 1, hold that empty breath. Notice how your abdomen is drawn in. Then full breath in 1, 2, 3, 4, hold. Then exhale 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. And now you can breathe normally. Try to focus your mind on your breath. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Just focus on the inhale and the exhale, the here and now, using your breath as an anchor to the present moment. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. We're going to point our fingers forward and gently roll up 1 vertebrae at a time using our core. Sitting in the center of the mat, we're going to inhale up, exhale down, and I wish you all namaste. Thank you so much for participating. Remember those wrist exercises, pulling back, touching the fingertips, or doing the rocking motion with your hands on the floor, facing forward, side, or back. That'll keep your wrist nice and open, and especially if you have days where you're typing on the computer a lot or things of that nature, or you just have difficulty when you're in downward facing dog or plank, it's a really good way to help keep those muscles open. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Amber. Bye.
Absolutely.
Thank
Bye.
you.